Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about XRP and primarily its valuation against Bitcoin. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So the last time we talked about XRP on the channel in terms of a dedicated video was July 26th. So it's been approximately 3 months. I thought it would be due. It was time for another video on XRP. Now, if you watched the last video we did on XRP, if you remember, you can go back and watch it. We said that XRP is likely to continue to bleed against Bitcoin over the macro scale until Bitcoin gets to its prior all-time high at the very least. Okay, this is what we said. This is the chart, by the way. The chart we're looking at right now is not updated. It's 3 months old. We're going to update it in a minute. This one is 3 months old, and we were at this point. XRP had seen a slight pump up, and my contention here was that, yeah, we're going to see slow moves up. We've seen these before. We've seen these moves, but at the end of the day, it was nothing to write home about, and ultimately speaking, we will likely continue going down until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. And you can see what's happening, right? Bitcoin is getting to the point right now, it's when it moves, it leaves the rest of the market behind. So given that information, we know that at some point, if Bitcoin does make a run at 20K, whenever that happens to be, altcoins will most likely bleed against Bitcoin, including XRP, right? Especially XRP, to be completely blunt about it. So because of that, we recognize that there could be short-term moves to the upside, but in general, XRP will likely bleed against Bitcoin until Bitcoin gets to its prior all-time high. This was the chart I showed back in July. This is what we said is probably going to bleed. This is an updated chart. So you can see in the short term, it pumped up. We said this is possible. We said short-term pumps are possible to the upside. However, we will likely continue to bleed. And if you remember, one of the things we mentioned about this pump that we were in was we had looked at what happened during the last market cycle when Bitcoin got above and was holding the 20-week moving average. This was back over here somewhere in this time frame, and we said, you know what, these short-term pumps are certainly likely to happen, especially when Bitcoin goes through these key phases of the cycle. But until Bitcoin gets to its prior all-time high of approximately $20,000, then and at that it needs to sustain it, right? Not just hit 20K and then come back down to 14K. No, it needs to be 20K and then 20K again the next week, and so on and so forth. That is what I think will give XRP the right climate to make moves. Okay. This is not a fundamental analysis that we could talk all day about that. This is just looking at the data and nothing more. Okay. So what I expect is the same, right? I mean, a lot of you might want to hear me say that XRP is likely about to pump against Bitcoin, and of course, the contention, right, is always there can be short moves to the upside, okay? But the same argument applies that as long as Bitcoin is below its prior all-time high, XRP against Bitcoin will likely bleed over the macro scale. And by the way, during this short pump right here, if you remember, I made the video at this point, and then it actually had pumped up a little bit in the short term. I got a lot of people commenting saying, oh, I bet you wish you owned XRP. And my comment back was, you're still 90% down against Bitcoin. So at the end of the day, it did continue going down, and we're looking forward now and saying, you know what? It's more likely to continue to go down over the macro scale until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high, and that's just supported by what happened in the prior market cycle, noting that XRP did not see this major move until the first quarter of 2017, which is also, by the way, when Bitcoin got to a sustainable, $1,100, basically its prior all-time high. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. This has not changed. This is basically just a quarterly update on XRP. Now, if you look in general at some of these, buy and sell zones, what I tend to look for in XRP is a move to this regime, okay? And this would be an XRP Bitcoin ratio of 10 to the minus 5 or less. And my general sell target, I've actually had this chart. We've shown it for like over a year at this point. It has not changed. The first time I spoke about XRP on the channel was like somewhere over here. It's still, the XRP Bitcoin valuation has continued to go down, and until we get to this regime, I'm most likely completely not even considering XRP. And once you get up to this level, right, 10 to the minus 4, then generally that is where I would want to consider selling, right? And again, this is not financial advice, and you might consider, well, how do you sell? Of course, if you follow the channel a lot, you know that I do it dynamically based on the risk levels. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But until we actually get into this regime down here, I'm not that interested in picking up XRP right now. And it's not to say that I don't think it won't do well during a multi-year bull market by Bitcoin. It probably will. You know, it's in the top 5, and it's been in the top 5 for like the last 7 years, despite the fact that there's a lot of people that, you know, aren't too enthused by it, right? You can't deny the fact that it has held a spot in the top 5 for the last 7 years or so. So, I mean, with that said, you just have to recognize, okay, well, you know, when could these moves come? Okay, and by the way, a lot of people really don't like it because it tends to do really poorly during bear markets and accumulation phases, and even the beginning of bull markets until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. This is why a lot of people get fairly resentful of it. But as the data suggests, I mean, like, you know, what really do you expect? Okay, what do you expect? The data has said what is likely to happen, and that's all we need to go with. And there's been plenty of times where you will see crypto Twitter, crypto YouTube start, you know, shilling XRP like crazy because a lot of altcoins are moving, and they'll say things like, oh yeah, like XRP is about to explode. They'll do whatever, you know. But again, just go back to the data. Don't fall for this, you know, emotional BS, so to speak. Just look at what the data says and say, you know what, let me take a step back and recognize that this is a pretty nasty trend. And looking at the last cycle, we didn't get out of this trend until Bitcoin got to the prior all-time high. It doesn't mean that it has to repeat identically, but why not use something like this to at least inform decisions? And this is what I've done, right? I mean, as I've said for over the last year, that because of this trend, I'm going to at least apply it to this cycle, and so far it's worked out great. Because for every dime in XRP before Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high is a dime you're not putting in another coin that has different trends against Bitcoin, okay? Like Ethereum or Chainlink, okay? And again, this is not to say that I don't think XRP will do well. I think there's a really great chance it will do well. It just needs to be at the right time. And recognize too that XRP, when it does pump, it kind of is the headline for a while because it pumps in a way that is it's very quick, and if you're not in XRP at the time, you can miss it, okay? And my general contention is that there's an opportunity cost to holding XRP, and I think that's true. I mean, if you're holding XRP right now, that's money not elsewhere in the market, especially Bitcoin. I mean, like, just look at the ratio. Obviously, if you had been holding Bitcoin for the last 3 years, you would have been much better off. So the thing is, right, is if ultimately speaking, if I'm wrong, which there's a chance that I'm wrong, right? If I'm wrong and XRP pumps tomorrow and goes up to this regime, then I'm fine with that, right? It was a calculated risk that I took, and maybe it didn't pay off. If, however, I'm right and we see the XRP Bitcoin valuation continue to bleed for the next 6 months, I don't know, however long, 12 months, whatever it ends up being. I mean, if you follow the channel, you know I'm more likely to lean towards lengthening cycles. So at least another 11 to 12 months into the fourth quarter of 2021 is really the earliest I could see Bitcoin getting to a sustainable 20K. If it happens earlier, it just means the trend. We would be looking to see this final capitulation earlier. And by the way, just to give you an idea of what would need to happen for this to be 10 to the minus 5, well, one example would be if Bitcoin gets to 20K and XRP is at 20 cents. This would put the valuation at 10 to the minus 5. So this is essentially what I would be looking for, a valuation of approximately 10 to the minus 5. Now, you can also look at these lines here and recognize, okay, well, once we get below these lines, that's where we get into our final capitulation territory. Okay, and we're getting very close to it. Now, one thing that I want to draw your attention to, this was the old chart. So this chart, it ended here. This was the chart up to July of 2020. So this was the chart I was speaking about last time, and I drew a few squiggles on here to identify what could happen if Bitcoin gets to its prior all-time high sooner, right? I mean, if it does, or not even necessarily get to its prior all-time high. I mean, there could be any number of events like the airdrop. I mean, there's people are talking about that, but just there's a lot of different events you can imagine where there could be an intermediate pump, okay, and it still could end up bleeding back down. Now, if this is true, right, and so this is what I drew. What ended up happening up to this point was actually slightly different. So you can see that's actually what happened. So instead of going down and sideways, it went up and then down a lot quicker. But we ultimately ended at the same point. Okay, so we're basically right around this point. We haven't quite come all the way down. You can see that's how close we are, but that's essentially where we are right now. And so what I'm looking for, of course, is to find out whether Bitcoin, whenever it gets to the prior all-time high, I of course have my reasons for why I think it will take longer to get to a $20,000 sustainable Bitcoin. But whenever that does happen, and if we do see a capitulation of XRP against Bitcoin, it could simply present yet another timely opportunity. And if that happens, then I could see myself purchasing XRP. Okay, and I know there's a lot of people on the channel that probably would want this type of video, but at the end of the day, I just want to make money. I'm not here. I'm not going to pretend to be here for the tech or anything like that. I just want to be part of moves like this. And if I make the money on XRP, fine. If I make it on Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, I don't really care. As long as, I'm just looking at these calculated risks in various parts of the market and recognizing that if this were to happen and we were to see the XRP Bitcoin valuation come down to this level, one more time, then at that point, and not a moment before, would I consider XRP to be something that I could potentially see myself investing in the short term. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for, and we're not there yet. So 3 months ago, it was the same story. We're not there yet. 3 months later now, we're in October, same thing, right? We're not there yet. And so that's where I'll continue to stand. Another idea is if lengthening cycle theory is true, which is what I talk about on the channel, and Bitcoin takes another year or so to get to a sustainable all-time high, then we could see the XRP Bitcoin valuation continue to slowly bleed for another year potentially. I drew it in the first quarter of 2022, could go down to the last quarter of 2021, but recognize that if Bitcoin takes another 12 months to get to its prior all-time high, there probably will be some, little bunny hills for XRP against Bitcoin where it might see short-term pumps depending on, various things going on with it. But at the end of the day, I think the macro trend is down until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. And if that's another 12 months from now, then I would expect a continued bleed against Bitcoin for XRP for those 12 months over the macro scale, and not to see any type of significant move until Bitcoin gets to that prior all-time high. Now, another thing, this chart is essentially completely useless. The only reason I'm showing it is because, people always say, oh, can you do this for XRP? These are just regression curves for XRP, just to kind of give you an idea of where we are. You can see the orange curve is where we peaked in 2013 and in 2017, 2018 timeframe. So we're still a long ways away from that. But you can generally see, currently we're essentially moving sideways between the blue and red band. And this is, by the way, is against USD. So this right here, this line right here is 20 cents. So if we were to track between 20 to 30 cents going sideways for a while, then we would basically either stay between the blue and the red one. We might even dip into the regression band below it if we were to go sideways for another year or so, and that would be if lengthening cycle theory is true. The great thing about it, right, is whether lengthening cycle theory is true or not true, at the end of the day, the main metric that I'm judging it by is whether Bitcoin is sustaining its prior all-time high or not. And if it's not, then it's not a discussion. Once it gets to 20K, then it's a discussion. So this is the risk metric, and for most coins it looks a lot different, right? But for XRP, it looks like this, and one of the things is it when it moves, it really moves, and when it's not moving, this is not where you really want to be. And so just based on the risk metric, it's a theoretic. It's it's definitely in theoretical buying territory, right? In terms of looking at a risk level below zero point 0.3, but you have to recognize that we spent a lot of time below zero point 0.3 last cycle, and then at one point we finally just shot upwards, very very quickly. And so right now you can see we're between zero point 0.2 and zero point 0.3. Looks like somewhere around 0.25. Again, I think we're more likely to go sideways, uh, until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high for the most part in terms of the risk level, and so I will continue to hold off. And then the last thing I wanted to show was just the just to give you an idea. This was the efficient frontier, and this one was made up of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and XRP. And if you calculate out the portfolio that maximizes your risk-adjusted returns or your Sharpe ratio, XRP was not a portfolio that existed on the efficient frontier, which means you got your highest projected return for a given volatility level. So this is the reasoning why I don't hold XRP during bear markets or accumulation phases, right? I just look at it when Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high, because at that point it becomes more attractive from a risk management point of view. If it turns out I'm wrong, so be it. I won't lose sleep over it. And that's pretty much that. So the next thing I want to do is just first I'll remind you that we do have the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. If you guys want access to more content, I give you weekly videos, premium videos, weekly reports, a risk dashboard, which is what I use to trade, a Telegram alerts channel, and a Telegram chat room. And so you get access to those 5 things, and also one more DCA strategy dashboard for selling primarily. And so, on this dashboard, I'm basically giving, or on the alerts channel, I'm just giving my constant updates on the market and that sort of stuff. So check it out. I also want to just quickly pull up the XRP Bitcoin chart. And this is to give you an idea, right? I mean, you can see XRP made its move here in March, okay, of 2017. This is when it started moving, and when it did move, it peaked at around 5,000%, and it did it in a very short period of time. If we were to take a measured move based on the date as well, you can see, I mean, it took approximately 2 months. Okay, I mean, these are monthly candles, of course. So I mean, it took approximately 1 to 2 months in there to see. Let's switch it over to a weekly view, actually, so we can get a little bit more detail here. So here you can see it took about 77 days or so to yield a 7,000% return. Okay, and then it also made another move after Bitcoin got to it kind of like the end of its journey for the market cycle, and then XRP pumped about 1,500 to 1,600% 1,500 to 1,600% against Bitcoin in about 35 days. So when it makes this move, it really makes this move. Now, if you look at March of 2017, in case you don't believe me, you can go over, we're looking at the BLX. You can see, okay, well, this was the last cycle. Bitcoin peaked at around $1,100, and it reached $1,100 before Q1. You can see it reached it in December of 2016. It went above it. It wasn't sustained. And because of this high volatility, most altcoins were still not doing anything yet, okay? But then Bitcoin got above its prior all-time high. In February, you can see it peaked up here at like almost $1,300. XRP hadn't moved yet. It came down, and during this period, right, once it was above its prior all-time high, coming back down and testing it as support, that is when XRP made its move, and not a moment before. And then you look at December of 2017. I mean, I'm sure most of you probably experienced that one. December of 2017, which is right here, this was the end of Bitcoin's journey, right, for its bull market, right? So after that point, that's also when XRP made another run. And everything in between those moves is just noise. So that's why I've said before, you want to avoid this. You want to avoid these time frames. This time frame right here is also important to avoid once that move happens. But then Bitcoin let's say Bitcoin gets to 20K, and then let's suppose that XRP does make a move. But then after that move is over, and you can speculate on when it might happen, but after it finishes, then when Bitcoin makes a run to say 100K, XRP will likely bleed back against Bitcoin. And so the idea that I talk about on the premium list and just on the public YouTube channel is DCAing your cells, dynamically DCAing your cells. So it could mean just selling, various amounts on the way up. Maybe you sell, Y here, and then you sell 2Y here. So you're selling more and more as it goes up. So let's say you sell 10,000 XRP at this level, then 20,000 here, 30,000 here, 40,000 here, and 50,000 here. And so you could just do some strategy like that. So that let's say you sell 10, 20, 30, 40,000, so you've sold 100,000, you have 50,000 left, but it doesn't make it up here, and then it just retraces. Well, you're not going to be too sad about it, because at least you sold 2/3 of your position before that happened. So the idea of dynamically DCAing your cells is to at least take profits if the bubble doesn't go up nearly as high as you think, and so that's just something to consider. The other thing that I want to draw your attention to is that a lot of times I consider Ethereum as the index for altcoins. So, why hold 100 different altcoins if you could have done better just holding Ethereum? And we know recently Ethereum has been bleeding against Bitcoin over the last few weeks. Well, the funny thing too is, XRP has been bleeding against Ethereum, and so therefore it's been bleeding against Bitcoin even more. So, again, the opportunity cost of holding XRP since December of 2018, had you just been holding Ethereum, XRP is down 82% against Ethereum over, since December of 2018. That's remarkable, because December of 2018 was, that was when Bitcoin went to $3,100. But since then, since that point, XRP is down 82% against Ethereum. We're not even talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about against Ethereum. And so this is why, again, the opportunity cost for holding things like XRP during bear markets, during accumulation phases, and during the beginning phase of a bull market is very high, because every dollar you had in XRP was not a dollar in say Ethereum. So again, I'm not just trying to be all bears on XRP. I do think, whether you like it or not, I know a lot of people aren't huge fans of it. Whether you like it or not, I do think that XRP's day will come again. It's just that day has not arrived yet, in my opinion. Okay, so we'll see what happens. We'll follow it. I'll probably do another video on it in a few months, maybe 3 months from now. I mean, it's October, so November, December, January. Maybe we'll look back at it in January and see what's going on. See if, okay, well, is Bitcoin, we'll first say, is Bitcoin at its prior all-time high? If it's not, then most likely I would expect this to continue to bleed. Okay, it's possible we see a short-term pump at any point, but it's still going to likely bleed over the macro scale. So let me know what you guys think. Give the video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Check out the premium list. We also have the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. That'll wrap it up for this video. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.